All right, we've had a lovely opportunity to explore different principles and practices around pausing and the power of pausing. And just to remember, the 4 elements that we are learning here for leading from within are to pause, to feel, to intend, and to connect. Let's now move on to feel. So when you come to feel, the first thing we learn is a very simple but incredibly beautiful principle. It's called rule number 6. It's very simple. Don't take life so seriously. What is it? One more time. Don't take life so seriously. I was doing a session for an organization, and the moment I told this, everyone began laughing and said, now we know when our boss gets upset with us what to tell him. Dear boss, please remember rule number 6. And we were all laughing. Then I said, be careful, because when you don't get a promotion and you go complaining to your boss, what will he tell you? Let's remember rule number 6. So it applies to all of us. And it's a way of remembering that life is not necessarily so serious. There's no evidence to prove that the universe is serious. We can have a good time. In fact, most people do have a good time. When you meet your friends from school and college, the same incidents which were so serious back then, now you laugh about those same things. So if you're going to laugh about it 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, why not today? Why should we wait for that long to get that insight? So please remember, rule number 6, don't take life so seriously. So imagine I give you a glass of water and I ask you to take a handful of salt and put it in the water and mix it up. Would you be able to drink that water? Most of you will find it very difficult to drink that water. But suppose we take a bucket full of water and we put the same amount of salt, a handful of salt, in the bucket, we nicely mix it up. How about now? Perhaps most of you will find it a little easier than before. But now, if I go to a lake, a large freshwater lake, I take the same handful of salt, put it in there, and I mix it up nicely. And I ask you, please drink the water. Will you be able to taste any salt at all? Chances are you will not be able to taste any salt. So what didn't change? The amount of salt was the same. What did change? The amount of water changed. Now, salt in this example refers to all that's not working for us in our life. The problems, the challenges, the difficulties. And please don't be under the illusion that you're the only one who has challenges. Look around you. Everyone has some challenge. People have financial challenges, physical health challenges, they have challenges in relationships, they have inner doubt sometimes and inner conflicts and phobias and addictions. People have all kinds of challenges, and that means the salt of their life. Now, if you only focus on the salt and not on the water represents what's right in your life, what's working in your life. If you only focus on that, on the salt, then you have a very stressful life. It's called no happiness. But as you start increasing the amount of water, you start finding that as the water becomes more and more and more, the problems, even though they're there, they all but disappear. It's like you can't taste them anymore. So the skill of doing this is known as gratitude. And you break up the word gratitude, you get 2 beautiful words. Great attitude. Gratitude is the greatest attitude. Now, Brené Brown, who is a social scientist and researcher, looked at 11,000 people to find out what brings joy. And she found one overwhelming aspect in her study, that all those people who described themselves as truly joyful, and she could see they really were joyful, they all had an actual gratitude practice. They didn't just say, I'm grateful once in a while, or of course I'm thankful, I'm so fortunate. That wasn't enough. They actually practiced gratitude. And that practice of gratitude is what enabled them to be so joyful. So now let me give you a few practical things you can start applying in your life. When you wake up in the morning, sit up in bed and start thinking of what's good in your life, what you're thankful for. You can think of 3 things you're thankful for, 5 things you're thankful for, the people you're thankful for, the things, and even small things count. The fact that you have a bed to sleep in, you have fingers that work, you have eyes that see, you have loved ones who are still alive, you have food to eat. Small things count. The bird that's outside the window and chirping. Small things count. And the more you think of these small things, the more it increases. It's very helpful to have a gratitude journal. This is a book or a notebook, and choose a beautiful one that reminds you to be grateful. I invite you to start by writing down 100 things you're grateful for. Most people say 100 things. And I always ask them, can you think of 100 things that are wrong with the world? And people say, yeah, very easily. Well, if you can think of 100 things that are wrong with the world, why can't you think of 100 things that are right with the world? So challenge yourself to write down 100 things that you're grateful for, and every day add 3 more or 5 more to that list. It's known as a gratitude journal. You can start your day with this. You can end your day with this. It's a really simple and powerful way to start your day in the best possible way and also end your day in a grateful way. That's one tool. Try another one, a gratitude letter. We have so many people in our lives who've touched our lives. You know, I once sat down and I began thinking of all the people who've touched my life in a significant way. And I found that as I wrote, I kept thinking of more and more and more people. And that list got so long. Now, what if I was to write a gratitude letter? Maybe once a week. Some people even do it every day, but that's fine, even once a week. Write a letter of gratitude to one of these people. It could even be an email, doesn't matter. You write them a letter saying, I'm so grateful to you because, and you go ahead and describe how they've touched your life. It's not only for them, it's for you. You're going to feel so good about this. It's one of the most powerful ways to raise your level of happiness. I had a lady in Singapore who attended my session, and she told me a week later, I loved the teaching of gratitude letter. I began writing one every day. But I never knew what was going to happen. I gave one of these letters to my colleague at work, and she broke down and started crying. I said, are you okay? What's wrong? She said, you don't know what this letter means to me. I've been having such a hard time in my personal life. I've been having such a hard time at work. This letter has given me back so much of strength. Thank you for giving it to me. So gratitude letters don't take too long, but they have a very big impact in our lives, to the people in our lives. Now, one more way that we can practice gratitude is known as gratitude meditation. It's very simple. Just sit quietly for 5 or 10 minutes, close your eyes, and simply repeat the phrase, thank you, thank you, thank you, over and over again in your mind. Just do it slowly and consciously. And little by little, in the beginning, it will just seem like words you're saying, but after a while, the mind will begin to settle down, and you'll begin to feel that feeling of gratitude. So just repeat over and over again, thank you, or if you prefer, I'm so thankful, I'm so thankful. And just say it over and over again. When the mind wanders, bring it back. And do it like this for 10 minutes. This is known as gratitude meditation, a very simple and powerful way to get in touch with the deep inner core of gratitude. The quality of your life is the quality of your gratitude. We can have a lot of things in our life, but if you're discontented with them, if you're always looking for the next thing, you can't enjoy them. Or you can have very little bit, and you can be deeply grateful for it, and you're going to really be happy. The Buddha described wealth as santutti, which means contentment. Santutti paramang dhanang. The most contented person is the most wealthy person. So practice the power of gratitude. It is a very powerful way to feel into the intelligence of your being. Have you noticed that all ice cream is cool and all ice cream is sweet, and yet there are so many different flavors? In the same way, there are 6 heart virtues. These are 6 facets or dimensions of love. Love is a great intelligence, not just a romantic, emotive feeling. There's much more to love than that. Love is a great intelligence, and love has these 6 beautiful facets. And let's explore these 6 heart virtues, these 6 facets of love now. The first heart virtue is appreciation. And appreciation is noticing what's right in any person, in any situation, starting with yourself. What's right in this moment? You might have heard of a magazine called National Geographic. It's a very popular magazine. To remind you, it's a magazine with the yellow border. And this magazine, what's interesting about this is, people who have it at home, they never give it away. They never throw it away like they throw away other magazines. They keep it, they treat it like a book. And it's a special magazine because it has beautiful articles, beautiful photographs. People treasure this magazine. Now, what's interesting about this magazine is it has a vision statement. And the vision statement goes like this: celebrating what's right with the world. Celebrating what's right with the world. This magazine celebrates what's right with the world. Doesn't mean it shies away from contentious topics. It looks at pollution, it looks at challenges as well, looks at wars happening in different parts of the world. But it'll also talk about the good things that are coming out of it, how people are responding to it, how they're rising to meet that challenge. And because it celebrates what's right with the world, this magazine has touched the hearts of millions of people around the world. Now, appreciation is the heart virtue that allows us to celebrate what's right in any person or situation. That's the first heart virtue, the heart virtue of appreciation. The second heart virtue is compassion. And if you break up the word compassion, you get common, passion. And what we're all passionate about is to be happy. It's to be free from suffering. Not just humans, even animals. Notice, animals, insects, down to the smallest, perhaps even bacteria, wants to get away from suffering and pain and wants to move towards happiness and ease. Now, I was in Chennai and I had a friend. We were having breakfast. And this friend of mine owns a t-shirt manufacturing company. He said to me, Nitya, a few months back, I was at a party. And in this party, I noticed a gentleman. I recognized him immediately. He's my role model. He's also in the garment manufacturing business. However, he's very big, very successful. So I gathered the courage, went up to him and said, Sir, you may not know me, but I know you very well. You're my role model. Do you have any advice for me? So the man smiled and said, I don't have advice for you. But since you're asking, I'll tell you the main reason for my success. On one condition. Don't ask me why it works. He's very intrigued. He said, all right, sir, please go ahead and tell me. The man said to him, for 15 minutes every morning, I sit quietly and I feel the deepest pain of my customers. This is the secret to my success. Now, he was quite taken aback. He wasn't expecting this kind of a response. He was expecting some business advice or some other kind of advice. But he'd promised not to ask why. He said he came back home and began practicing this, began sitting quietly and experiencing the deepest pain. What are the challenges his customers face? Not only external customers, internal customers, his own employees, people who work for his organization. And he noticed his whole attitude changed. From one of complaining and bitterness and being, not liking his customers for bargaining with him and placing last-minute orders and things like that, to having gratitude that he got a chance to serve them. And really connecting with the deeper pain, not just treating them like people to transact with, as human beings to connect with. And that's the heart virtue of compassion. It is the desire, the wish, the aspiration to release and remove suffering. And all the efforts that come from that. So this is in India, we call this karuna. Karuna means feeling the pain of the other and the desire to remove that pain. And we do it from a place of awareness. So it's not just feeling and drowning into that pain. We are aware of what the person is feeling. We connect with it. And we also know this is a changing phenomena. It's a passing phase. It can't last forever. This too shall pass. And so from that place, we practice compassion. The desire to release the suffering of all beings. The third heart virtue is forgiveness. And as you've noticed, a lot of these words contain their meaning within them. So break up the word forgiveness, forgiving. Forgiveness means thank you for giving this to me. Now that's an amazing place to be. When you're not only saying I somehow accept it, but I really am thankful that this happened to me. An example is, imagine you come home and you see in front of your house, in front of your front door, there is a big pile of cow dung, what we call gobar in India. And you're really shocked at how did this cow dung get here? And you ask your neighbors, they didn't notice. You ask the gatekeeper, he didn't notice. You ask the police, they didn't notice. Nobody noticed. So all you know about this is two things. One is, you didn't order it. And number two, it's very smelly. Now, when this happens, people respond in two ways. One is, they'll take the cow dung, they'll fill their pockets, they'll fill their purse, and wherever they go, they'll pull it out and see, look what happened to me. They'll make people smell, look what happened to me, look what happened to me. Wherever they go, they'll look how terrible it is, how bad it is, it happened to me. And they'll start noticing that people start avoiding them. People stop calling them to their parties. People stop, they don't want to be with them anymore because they're always complaining, look how bad it is. But the other person who's wiser recognizes that everything in the universe has some value. Even cow dung has value. And the value, you know what the value is? It is manure. It's excellent organic manure. So the wise person brings a wheelbarrow, puts the manure, this cow dung, into it, and goes to the backyard and starts filling it into the soil, into the vegetable garden, into all the other things over there. Now this takes work. It's not so easy to do this work. And as you recognize, cow dung represents the problems of our life. So sometimes one day is not enough, 1 month is not enough, 1 year is not enough. It can take a long time to really clean out all the cow dung. But as you do that, a miracle is taking place in your backyard. And everyone is surprised. How is it that your backyard has the best fruits and best flowers and all the birds and bees come to your garden? And you smile because you know that there's an equal distribution of shit in everyone's life. What are you going to do with that? Are you going to complain about it? Or are you going to make the most of it? Now, forgiveness is realizing no matter what's happened, I can grow from it. I can become stronger from it. It's asking the question, how has this enabled me to be who I am today? And then we are grateful, we are thankful. So the art of letting go is forgiveness, a powerful heart virtue. The fourth heart virtue is humility. And humility is recognizing that I'm not better than others. I'm not even worse than others. And you know what's interesting? I'm not even equal to others. Each person, each thing is unique. And that inherent uniqueness is what makes it special. In that sense, everything is special. No one is more or less special. Now, my teacher said it very nicely, that a tree that has many fruits bends low. So as our inner fruits, our inner wisdom starts ripening, we are naturally humble. I once wrote that the ordinary person wants to be famous. The famous person wants to be a legend. The legendary person wants to be wise. And the wise person doesn't mind being ordinary. So what a beautiful cycle. There's a story of Akbar who was very displeased with the 9 wise people in his court. And he said, you are the wisest people of the land, but despite having you for so many years, I'm still the same. I haven't changed. What's the use of having you people? And as he was speaking, a small child in his court began laughing. And Akbar turned to the child and said, hasn't your father taught you manners? How come you're laughing in my court? And the child smiled and said, I'm laughing at you. I said, why are you laughing at me? He said, is it really because of them? Or is it because of you that you haven't learned? So Akbar was very startled. He said, who are you? And the child said, well, I can teach you something. And Akbar said, all right, teach me. What do you have to teach me? The child said, not like that. You have to get off the throne and come down. And I have to sit on the throne. I can't teach you from this position. Akbar was very amazed by the little child talking to him like this. So he got up from his seat and said, all right, come and sit on the throne. So the child sits on the throne and Akbar said, now teach me. He said, not like that. Don't ask me like an emperor. Ask me like a disciple. So Akbar bends down, looks into the innocent eyes of the child and says, please teach me. And the child says, you've already learned. And Akbar realized the lesson was humility. The reason he was unable to learn from all those wise people was because he had the ego of being the emperor. So when you want to learn, when you want to grow, you have to have humility, the openness of mind, the openness of spirit. If in your family, if in your team, you keep thinking, I'm the special one, I'm the one who knows it all, how can you ever move ahead? This is the reason that they found that in a room full of highly intelligent people, above average intelligence, let's say 130 IQ, the group IQ is often 80. Because they're all so full of themselves, they all think they're smarter than the others, shoot down each other, and they're not working together, they're not building on each other's points, they're out to prove who's smarter. So if you truly want to be someone who's learning in every environment, the wise person, please remember, learns from every person. There is no person too small or big to learn from. Even the person who is so-called not wise, you can learn from them. You learn what not to do from that person. There's something to learn from everybody, including animals, including nature. So humility is the attitude of constant learning, is the attitude of openness of mind, and seeing that nothing is special, or perhaps everything is special. The fifth heart virtue is understanding. Now, understanding is about getting out of your little world and trying to understand the other person's world. What are they experiencing? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? What are they wanting? There was a man driving to a party with his wife, and a thought occurred to him: in every party, I like to be seen as smart, successful, intelligent, charming. I try to be interesting. But somehow, as he was driving, he said, suppose in this party, instead of being interesting, I get interested. What will happen? So as he went to the party, instead of talking about himself and all that he was up to, he simply turned it around and said, what's happening with you? What's going on with you? Really? And why is that important to you? And how does that make you feel? And he spent the whole evening just listening well to other people, understanding what's going on for them, what's happening in their world. At the end of the party, people were coming to his wife and saying, your husband is so charming. Your husband is such a good listener. They even said he's so articulate, even though he wasn't speaking much. All the things he wanted to hear when he was trying to be interesting, he now heard when he was being interested. That's the art of understanding. There's a beautiful story about the power of understanding. There was a Sufi master, and he called all his disciples, and he asked them, why is it that when you're angry, you shout? You raise your voice? They were all quite perplexed. They said, Master, everyone shouts when we're angry. Anybody shouts. So that's fine, but when you're in the same room as the person, they're quite close to you, you can say the same things. Why do you raise your voice? What's the reason for raising your voice? So all the disciples were quite confused by that. They said, Master, we don't know. Tell us, why do we raise our voice? He said, because physically you're close, but when you disagree, when you have misunderstanding, the distance between your heart has increased. So whenever we feel someone is distant, we raise our voice. Whenever we sense they're not listening, we raise our voice in the hopes that they'll listen. So all the disciples were very amazed. They said, Master, you're right. We are physically close, but our hearts have gone far away. That's why we raise our voice. Then the Master said, tell me, when you love someone, how do you speak? People said, Master, we speak very softly, very lovingly. So why is that? So disciples are very smart. Master, because physical distance is here, but the heart distance is close. And so we don't have to speak very loudly. Then the Master asked, now how many of you have been deeply in love? And some people smiled. Now tell me, when you're deeply in love, what happens? So the disciple said, you're right, Master. Nothing needs to be said. Because the physical distance is here, but the hearts have become like one. Then the Master said, in your life, it will happen sometimes that there are misunderstandings, that people see things in different ways, and that the heart distance increases. In that situation, what are you going to think, say, and do that will reduce the heart distance, that will create the connection? That's the skillful way of being. That's the wise way of being. I was a monk, and in my monastery, when two monks disagreed, we had a saying, when two people fight, they're both wrong. Because in monastic life, being wise is really important. So even if we had a disagreement, we knew that when two people fight, they're both wrong. So who's right? The one who apologizes first is right. So we'd swallow our ego, swallow our pride, and go up to the other person and said, I'm sorry. And then, when you say sorry to someone, typically they also say, I'm also sorry. And the one who apologizes first is wiser. So in this way, we practice the art of understanding, putting the other one first. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. Connection before correction. One of the most important things we can learn. The heart virtue of understanding. Now the last or the sixth heart virtue is valor. And valor means courage. Not the courage to go and fight with others. It's the courage to be yourself, to honor your own truth. Now I noticed in all my years of teaching that no matter how I live my life, no matter what I teach, some people are going to like it, some people aren't going to like it. You can't please everybody. However, the question is, can I please one person? Can I please myself? When I go out to please everybody, funny thing is no one gets pleased. But when I please myself, when I live my truth, chances are most people get pleased. This is known as, don't ask what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes your heart sing. Because what the world really needs is people with hearts that sing. And these are the people who inspire us. Valor is defined as speaking truth to power. It is the courage to stand up for what you really believe in. And sometimes when you do that, it makes you quite unpopular. Throughout history, there have been times when people have stood up to oppose what the general population considered to be quite ordinary and normal. There was a time when Abraham Lincoln said to abolish slavery. In India, there was a practice of sati, where the bride would be burned with the husband when he died. So there were people who stood up and said, no, this doesn't work. Mahatma Gandhi opposed untouchability. Like this, when they stood up, there were people who opposed them and said, no, but this is the way we do things. And they challenged those norms. And that's how civilization has moved forward. So the courage to stand up for what you believe in, this is known as valor. This is the courage to be yourself, and this is the sixth heart virtue. Now, one thing to remember about valor, and this is a question I often get, is if I really follow my heart, won't I hurt so many others? I'll hurt my family members, people may not like it, which is why valor is not the only heart virtue. There are 6 heart virtues. The first heart virtue, appreciation, compassion, forgiveness, humility, understanding, and valor. The summary of this is understanding before valor. Practice all the heart virtues, and that's the right time to practice valor. If you jump into valor first, chances are you'll hurt people. So, connection before correction. Make sure you connect with them. With all the 5 heart virtues, you're connecting with yourself and them. And now valor, there's a time and a place to be stern, to stand up and voice your beliefs. But it'll come in a very balanced way when it is followed and included along with all the other heart virtues. In this way, we practice all these 6 heart virtues. The 6 heart virtues, in beautiful combination, is what's known as love. And I'm going to say it like this. Every situation in your life is like a combination lock. You know, those luggage combination locks you've seen, a different numerical code to open it. Every situation of your life is like a lock. And you can unlock it with these 6 heart virtues. So how do you do that? You just sit quietly and you repeat in your mind all the heart virtues one by one, slowly, and feel them. For example, appreciation, compassion, forgiveness, humility, understanding, valor. You can go even slower than that if you like. Feel into these heart virtues, and as you do that, you'll find there is something to appreciate in that situation, to have compassion for, to forgive, to let go of your pride in, and to understand and voice your truth. In this way, you will be able to unlock any situation of your life by applying a beautiful combination of all these 6 heart virtues. 6 heart virtues are a powerful way to get in touch with the intelligence of your feelings. Let us recollect the 4 elements of leading from within: pause, feel, intend, and connect. So as you pause, you can move in, tune into the 6 heart virtues, and from here you make a powerful intention, and that's when the connection happens.